In the center of the hippodrome of Constantinople, a young woman knelt on the burning sand. Iron restraints cut into her wrists and ankles, holding her in place while tens of thousands of spectators filled the rising stone seats around her. Their voices merged into a single, deafening roar, shouting, laughing, arguing, placing bets. This was not a courtroom. This was not justice. This was entertainment. She could not see what was happening behind her, but she could hear it. Heavy footsteps, the snorting breath of an animal. The sound alone was enough to make panic take hold. As the noise grew closer, the crowd's excitement intensified. Whatever was approaching her was exactly what they had paid to see. This woman's name was Helena. She was 23 years old, born into a noble family aligned with one of Constantinople's powerful political factions. She had wealth, status, and connections until she did not. Now, she was alone in the most public space in the empire, deliberately positioned to be seen, judged, and broken. The hippodrome was the heart of Byzantine public life. Built in the 3rd century and expanded by Constantine himself, it could hold tens of thousands of people. Officially, it was a place for chariot races and celebrations. In reality, it was something far more dangerous. It was where emperors confronted crowds, where political loyalty was displayed, and where enemies of the state were destroyed in full view of the population. Byzantine society was divided into factions, most famously the Blues and the Greens. What began as sports teams evolved into political machines, complete with militias, leaders, and rival territories. Loyalty was inherited. If your family belonged to a faction, so did you. Supporting the wrong side or appearing disloyal could cost you everything. The emperors understood this system and learned how to exploit it. The hippodrome became a tool of control. When punishment was private, it could be doubted. When punishment was private, it could be doubted. When punishment was public, witnessed by tens of thousands, it became unforgettable. In the year 532 AD, this system nearly collapsed during the Nika riots, when both factions united against Emperor Justinian. For days, the city burned. When the crowds gathered in the hippodrome to demand his removal, Justinian made a decision that would define his reign. He ordered the gates sealed. Soldiers entered the arena. By nightfall, tens of thousands lay dead. It was one of the largest mass killings in a single enclosed space in history. But mass death was only one method of control. The empire also specialized in something more precise: humiliation. Especially public humiliation designed to destroy identity without necessarily ending life. Women connected to political opponents were particularly vulnerable. They could be punished without openly violating the law, because the goal was not legal guilt but symbolic destruction. Stripping status, erasing dignity, turning a person into a warning. Helena was one such warning. What happened to her in the arena was carefully staged. The spectacle was not meant to kill her. It was meant to terrify her, to reduce her to fear in front of a massive crowd. The animal behind her was controlled. The danger was psychological, not accidental. The crowd watched as anticipation did the work that violence did not need to finish. When the moment ended, Helena was still alive. But the damage had already been done. Tens of thousands had watched her break. Her name became a story, a lesson, a reminder of what happened to those associated with the wrong side of power. She was later exiled. Her family lost its influence. Her life never recovered. She died young, her cause of death unrecorded. The empire had no further use for her once the message had been delivered. This was the function of the hippodrome, not merely to entertain, but to manufacture obedience, to turn crowds into participants, to teach citizens that resistance was not just dangerous, but publicly humiliating. The ruins of the hippodrome still exist today in modern Istanbul. Tourists walk through them, take photographs, admire the remnants of an ancient civilization. Few realize that this ground once served as a theater of calculated cruelty, where power was enforced not only through force, but through spectacle. The Byzantine Empire called itself Christian, civilized, and lawful, and yet it perfected systems of public terror that rivaled any ancient society. This contradiction is the real lesson of the hippodrome. Civilization does not prevent cruelty. Sometimes it refines it. History often remembers empires for their architecture, their laws, their art. It forgets the methods they used to stay in power. The Hippodrome reminds us that behind every polished legacy, there are stories deliberately buried, stories like Helena's. And remembering them is the only way to recognize the pattern when it appears again.